If you were a teenage male in the 1970s living in Chicago, well, you had a reason to fear clowns. No, Pennywise wasn't lurking in the sewer. It's just the clown they feared was named Pogo. Now, many of you know I'm talking about John Wayne Gacy. He confessed to the sodomy and murder of 33 male teens in the 1970s and was put to death in 1994. But before he died, Gacy claimed he had several accomplices. Some, he claimed, were the victims themselves of his brutal crimes.
4 other suspects. 3 of the suspects that we knew that they knew then was Michael Rossi, David Cram, and Philip Paskey. All employees of PDM Contractors, all with keys to the house on Summerdale.
Then there was that one person who had the keys to Gacy's house, worked for Gacy as a contractor, and he's always brought up when there's a Gacy conspiracy theory, and his name is Robin Gecht. Now, you can always debate whether or not he was a willing participant or actual participant in the Gacy murders, but he took a small cult in the 1980s that would make Gacy's crimes look tame. Outside of Gecht's employment with Gacy's company, not much is known about the Chicago Ripper crew prior to their crimes. But what we do know is once Gecht's wife left for work, Edward Spricer, along with Andrew and Thomas Kokorales, would meet in the attic of Gecht's house. They would always refer to this room as the Satanic Chapel. And the room featured an altar with 6 black and red crosses. This was the room you're going to want to pay attention to. The first murder occurred April 23, 1981. A prostitute named Linda Sutton was kidnapped and murdered near Wrigleyville in the broad daylight. They dumped Sutton's body behind a hotel. 10 days later, police would answer a call of a dead body smell outside of a hotel, and it was in that field where they found Sutton's body. They couldn't identify her at first. They had to get her dental records. Her injuries were that severe. A little over a year later is when murder number 2 occurred. Lori Brabowski was kidnapped in front of her realty office when she was a secretary. She was just about to unlock the door for today's work. It took 5 months before Chicago police could even find her body. And in that period, that's when they took the killing spree to another level. Just days after Borowski's abduction, they kidnapped and murdered Shemak from Hanover Park. 2 weeks later, they would abduct Angel York. But unlike the previous 3 victims, York somehow survived. She was able to give the police a description of her attackers, but no arrests were ever made. They would go on to kill 2 more women before they made their fatal mistake. The cult's last known victim was Beverly Washington. She was found on December the 6th and gave a description of the attackers in the van they drove. However, Gecht was arrested, but was let go due to the lack of evidence. The piece of evidence that sealed the crew's fate was done by a desk manager at a hotel, where he said there were 3 more people with Gecht. The manager even thought they were in a cult. Now, the Ripper crew would bring victims back to Geck's attic. Remember, the Satanic Chapel? Geck would read passages from Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible during the ritualistic killings. The women would then be raped, tortured, beaten, and then murdered. But before the last part would happen, the cult would remove part or all of the breast with a wire garrote and then pleasured themselves into the wound. It was Spricer and the Cocorellis brothers that would confess to the murders and turn evidence against Geck. However, at his trial, all three of them refused to testify. Because of this, Geck would never be convicted of murder and looked upon the same way as Charles Manson. Now, three of the cult members, Geck, Spricer, and Thomas Cocorellis, were all sentenced to life in prison. However, Cocorellis was paroled in 2019, while Thomas's brother has the most grim distinction in the state of Illinois. In 1999, he would be the final inmate put to death by the state of Illinois. The Ripper crew has allegedly killed more than 20 people. And just like John Wayne Gacy, there may be many, many more that we don't even know about yet. So, did Geck help John Wayne Gacy? The world may never know. One thing is undebatable. The crimes of the Ripper crew will never be forgotten in the city of Chicago.